The University of Nebraska Block and Bridle Club takes great pride in honoring Homer Buell as our 2009 honoree. Homer is the fourth-generation co-owner of the Shovel Dot Ranch near Rose, Nebraska. The ranch was founded in 1883 with Homer's great-grandfather, Benjamin Franklin Buell. He was a cigar maker and schoolteacher from Michigan that passed through the Sandhills on his way to Washington State. After working as a bookkeeper for a logging company in Washington, he came back to the Sandhills and homesteaded. There he developed the Shovel Dot brand and began raising Hereford cattle, which he found to be perfectly adapted to the Sandhills. Benjamin continued to operate the ranch until the 1920s when he passed on ownership to his son, Homer L. Buell. His son, Barney, took over in the 1940s, who managed the ranch until he in turn passed it on to his sons, including our nominee Homer, in the 1970s. Today, Homer and his brother Larry co-operate the Shovel Dot in a partnership, but they are looking to pass it on to their children and grandchildren. Homer's son Chad and Larry's daughter Devin live on the ranch and are currently transitioning into ownership. Throughout the generations, the ranch has expanded to its present size of 25,000 acres. Homer graduated from the University of Nebraska in 1971 with a degree in business administration. He went to college originally looking to become a lawyer, but decided that he wanted to return home to the family ranch. He credits much of his success on the ranch to the principles he learned in business management. Homer's involvement in trade organizations as well as many other organizations has been a great asset to agriculture and his community. He has served in many leadership positions for our state, such as the president of the Nebraska Cattlemen and the Nebraska Hereford Association. He has served at the national level as president of the President's Council and the American Hereford Association and as a board member for the National Cattlemen's Beef Association. Homer is also involved in local organizations such as the Knights of Columbus, the American Legion, and the Rock County Roping Club, of which he has served as president twice. The future of agriculture is important to Homer, and he has served in leadership roles and sponsored youth programs that allow young people to become more involved in agriculture. He is committed to 4-H and has served as the president of the Nebraska 4-H Foundation Board. Homer has also been a strong advocate for the University of Nebraska. He has sponsored tours of his ranch for UNL range management classes, as well as testified before the unicameral about the importance of funding the university's budget. He is also an advisor and collaborator on range and beef cattle research conducted in the Sandhills. His efforts for the beef industry and youth are exemplary. On March 6th, the UNL Block and Bridle Club visited the Shovel Dot on a snowy day. After winding down a narrow country road, we were warmly greeted by Homer, Darla, Chad, and Larry. After getting organized at Homer and Darla's home, we loaded up in 3 pickups and took a tour of the ranch. The Shovel Dot Ranch is a 1,400-head cow-calf and yearling operation using Hereford and Angus cross cattle. Homer told us that he looks at his role as a cattle producer not just as a rancher, but as a grass farmer. By carefully managing the grass resources on the Shovel Dot, the cattle can graze nearly year-round and thereby consume less harvested forage. We first looked at the lake his grandfather built just to the north of the house, which was covered in geese when we drove by. Then we continued north to look at the yearlings. The Shovel Dot calves in late spring, which leads directly into the yearling operation. Calves are retained after weaning and marketed the next year at 900 pounds. Not only does this give the ranch the opportunity to sell heavier calves, but it is an insurance policy against drought. If the grass will be short, then the calves can be sold earlier, leaving more for the cows. This is one more technique Homer uses to keep the range healthy. After looking at the yearlings, we went back south and stopped by the original homestead, where Larry's daughter Devin and her family lived. This was the place that both Homer and Larry were raised at, and the barn still bears the Shovel Dot name proudly. It is here that Homer and Larry store their newest source of feed, ethanol byproducts. The Shovel Dot utilizes a variety of byproducts. Wet distillers grains are used as an energy and protein source, especially in the winter. The Shovel Dot also uses liquid solubles in its ration. Unfortunately, Homer and Larry learned the hard way that it's best to store solubles inside during the winter. They converted an old shed into a storage facility for solubles that is quite warm in the wintertime. Then we continue south to look at some of the cows on range. This range pasture fits the quintessential definition of the Sandhills: steep, rolling hills covered by native prairie. The cows were in great condition and seemed happy to share this range with the mule deer that watched us from just over the hill. We then returned to Homer and Darla's house for dinner and talked with Homer about his ranch philosophies as well as his advice for students like us.
It's enjoyable to show people the ranch, and I always enjoyed getting to know the young people like that. the people that will be future leaders in our industry is a lot of fun, and hearing about some of the things that they're doing and some of the things they're interested in just by the questions that you ask. So it's always fun, but it was particularly enjoyable that day.
After dinner, we said our goodbyes and headed back to Lincoln, enriched by the time we shared with the Buell family. Congratulations to you, Homer Buell, for being the 2009 Block and Bridle Honoree. Thank you for all your dedicated work to the livestock industry and to the youth of Nebraska.
It means a lot, and it's humbling. I mean, I also know some of the people that have been honored in the past. I had a guy stop me just the other day and mention a guy that was probably honored 25 years ago from Valentine, who I respected a lot, has passed away a number of years ago. But just being part of that group and the quality of people that have been chosen before makes me feel even more honored.